All right. So one of my favorite by talking about what the live stream is going to be about tonight. So we're going to talk tonight about an upcoming paddling trip we're doing down to Pucón, Chile. I'm bringing David Hughes on to talk about answer questions. I'm going to pretend I'm like a complete beginner and I don't know anything about going to South America. I know nothing about paddling in Chile, and I'm a complete beginner and I just got my role. So I'm going to pretend that like that's who I'm talking to tonight. So that's how I'm talking to David. And so while we wait for him to get on, I'm going to go through some upcoming events and local stuff that we're having here in Cincinnati and the Dayton area. But then we're just going to wait. It normally takes like 2 to 3 minutes for me to bring David on. I like send the invitation, and then for whatever reason, because Facebook sucks, it takes a second before it'll actually bring him on. And maybe it has something to do with the fact that he's going to be joining the live stream from the other side of the planet. So maybe that has something to do with it. But it always takes a second. So always please be patient in the beginning. But tonight we're going to talk about Chile. And the paddling trip we're doing in February down to South America. So, if you want to know more, if you're interested, if you've always wanted to paddle in South America and you're thinking, I'm kind of on the fence or I'm thinking, we're going to go through everything. We're going to talk about pricing tonight. We're going to talk about logistics. We're going to talk about flights. We're going to talk about everything. So, I highly encourage you to watch it all the way through. And yeah, it always takes a second. Let me make sure. Think this is the magic button I have to push. Bear with me. Okay. I think David should be able to join now. But while I wait for him to join, I'm going to talk about a couple things that are going to happen locally. So I always talk about this in the fall. The fall is the best time to buy paddling gear. It's always been the best time to buy paddling gear because kayakers are broke, and so they have to buy their winter supplies. And so you can normally get paddling deals in the fall. Check Facebook Marketplace, things like that. So I'm going to talk about that while I wait for David to get on. There's a couple festivals I always recommend people go to if they were trying to get cheap cost effective paddling gear. You're never supposed to use the word cheap. But cost effective paddling gear. There's Golly Fest is always a good option if you're looking for used gear. There's always a huge selection of used boats there. And then there's also GAF, Guest Appreciation Festival. And if anyone knows of any other paddling festivals that go on that where you can get killer pricing that are like somewhat close to us, please put them in the comment section so that everyone can know. Or so that other people, those are the two I know of. Golly is always the third weekend in September. I think it's September 18th, 19th this year. And then GAF is in October, maybe? I put in as please someone put in the comments what the dates are for GAF. But those are two great paddling festivals. I always encourage people to go to those. And then of course, U.S. team trials for freestyle kayaking will be October 2nd through the 4th down at the NOC. So if you want to cheer on everyone, you should totally come and check it out. So those are the paddling festivals. And then locally, we're going to have a couple events this fall. I'm dialing it back drastically this fall because it's been a crazy summer of logistics and organizing things. GAF's October 24th, 25th. Thank you, Gracie. You're awesome. That's a great festival, and like it's a killer place to get like boats and gear and all sorts of stuff cheap. So or affordably. So please go to please go and enjoy those festivals and paddle those rivers and get some affordable gear. So, but we're doing a couple things this fall. I'm not like doing a ton this fall because I'm also going to be training for U.S. team trials. So I'm dialing back some of the local stuff we're doing so that I have time to train. But we are going to do a fall pool class starting the first Friday in October. So if you're struggling with your role and you want to get in on your role or you want practice with your role, join us October. I think it's October 8th is the first one. Yeah, join us. And it's a 6-week pool session class where we'll work on roles and we'll help teach you and get you guys ready for ready for whatever adventures you want to go on, especially if you want to go with us to South America. Dave is going to come on and say that anyone is welcome down, but I highly recommend if you have a role. It just makes you more confident overall. There's plenty of rivers in South America where you don't need a role, but you get to go on. It just widens your options of what rivers you can paddle if you do have your role. So highly recommend if you're considering and your role's so-so, take my fall pool class before we go to South America. All right, let me hit this again. I know what I did that I messed it up. I had it all set up, ready to go, and then I switched off to check something real quick, and then I switched back, and that Facebook just cannot handle, like, they can't handle that. Anybody know of any other paddling festivals that are going on this fall besides GAF? And somebody told me there's another one at the NOC. There's two at the NOC beside one other one besides GAF, but I'm not. I don't know that for sure. Um, but yeah, that's all we're organizing, and then we will have. We're going to do a winter pool class as well that starts in January, and then there's two options for pool. If you don't want a class and you just want pool sessions this fall and winter, there's two options. There's the Lebanon YMCA, and then there is the Xavier University is going to have pool sessions starting. I think Ed starts those in January. So those are great options. And then I think, Brad, if I'm not mistaken, the paddling club down in Kentucky, they do a pool session like Louisville area. Where's the actual pool session down there? I know roughly where it is. Is it in Frankfurt? There's a pool session in Northern Kentucky, or kind of, I guess that would be considered Western Kentucky. So if you're in that area, there's also pool sessions in that area. So, but the Xavier and the YMCA ones are always on Sundays. The Lebanon YMCA one is always it's always Sunday afternoons. And then the only time I think Ed can get pool time at Xavier is Sunday evenings, and I think those started at 4 p.m. So, all right, let me switch over. Let me switch over here and hit some buttons. Oh, that did something. I know David is trying because it's always like this. Literally, I don't think I've ever done a live stream. And I believe me, I did my homework. I have tried multiple times to do it multiple different ways in which Facebook allows me, or Facebook isn't difficult about this, but for whatever reason, Facebook is always difficult when it comes to this. So bear with me as I switch over. And if I can't bring David on, I'm just going to go through my talking points, and I'm going to talk to myself about, or talk to you about the upcoming events. It is weird sitting in a room talking all by yourself. But if I can't get David to join, I'm just going to talk about the trip without David. Okay. I'll start with logistics. So logistics for the Chile trip. I'm flying out February 5th. Let me double check that I have that. Yes, it's a Friday. So we set up the 1 week Chile trip so that you would only have to take 5 days of PTO. So I'm flying out Friday afternoon or Friday evening, and then we are returning the following Sunday. So we will be there. I'm flying out Friday. We will get to Chile on Saturday. We will boat Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then that Saturday we fly back, and then we return home on a Sunday, and then because it's a long flight, you'll get home on Sunday the 24th, or sorry, Sunday the 14th. So it works out to being 8 days of paddling. So super great trip. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's if you do the 1 week Pucón week. But if you're interested in doing multiple weeks, there's a second option. There's an option where you can do multiple weeks. If you have enough vacay or you have enough time and you can do multiple weeks in a row, the second week, and you can do both, is going down to the Food of Lafu. So if you've always dreamed about going down to South America and you want to do a trip down to or dreamed about going to the Footaloofoo, which is like, in my opinion, it is like a once in a lifetime river, and it's the top. I would put it in the top three of my favorite rivers I've ever paddled in the world. That, Ottawa, and probably Upper Golly are my three favorite rivers in the entire world. So I highly recommend going to the Footaloofoo. Skill levels vary. I would recommend being an intermediate paddler on the Footaloofoo, but all are welcome. Hang on, hang on. Tech hates me. Yeah. So that's who's guiding. We've got that's a great question. And please, as I'm talking, put your questions for the trip in the comments, and I will read them as they pop up. Who's guiding the Footaloofoo? So both um, the Pucone Week and the Foodle we will have Boyd Ruppelt will be guiding both of those. And so he has done multiple trips down to the Foodle and he's been working with David now for multiple years, going down to South America and going down to Chile. And so he knows those rivers. I know those rivers really well. He knows those rivers even better than I do. So he's going to be leading and guiding, but there's going to be a couple other guides with us. I'm not sure if it's going to be Blue this year or if it's going to be. I'm not sure who else is going to be by. I think I'm not going to speak. I'll let David speak when and if he gets on. We'll talk about which guides will be showing us down rivers. But what we will be doing is as soon as we get down there, we're going to break into three groups. So we're not all going and we're not all going to be paddling the same rivers every single day. So the first thing they're going to do when we get down there is do a little assessment and try to figure out where your skill level is. And they're going to determine if you're a somewhat beginner paddler that doesn't quite have a role yet, an intermediate paddler, or an advanced paddler. And so, and then each day you'll go to different rivers depending on what your skill level is. So if you're an advanced paddler, you're probably going to go to rivers like the Palagine, Upper Fui. You're going to do, I doubt the Nevados will be running when we're down there, but that is an amazing creek if it is running. And then if you're in the intermediate Upper Trancura, if you're an intermediate paddler, you'll be doing things like the Middle Fui, Trancura, San Pedro. So if you're like a research person and you want to have all the information, though these rivers, I would write down the names that I'm telling you right now, and I would go watch videos on these runs because they're out there. But the main river that is on like David's property, the main river that's on his property is the Trancura. And so there's the Upper Trancura, which is a class. It's been 12 years since I've been there, but it is a class 4+ run, the Upper Trancura, with class 5s on it as well that you can portage. And then the Lower Trancura is more like a class 3 run. And so those are your options, or those are like what's at his property. So you can run the upper and take out at David's property, or you can run the lower and then just run a shuttle, and they'll pick you. You can put in at David's property and then go downstream from there. So, but the Trancura, I would watch videos on the Trancura because they're super helpful. Christian says Blue is not going to be guiding. I'm not sure. Who, because David has multiple guys that work for him. I'm not sure who's going to be guiding each group on each days. But if you are curious about it, shoot me a message, or any questions you have about it, just email me and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So, but before I dive into, before I like ramble on too much, I want to dive into like the biggest question, which is, what does it actually cost to do, 8 days paddling in Chile? Because it's all awesome and in theory, but the reality is like, can people actually afford to do it? And so last year, I think the trip cost each person, I think it was about, with the group discount we got, I think it was about 3,500 to 3,800 per person. I'm projecting this year it's going to be, with inflation and everything, it's going to be about 4,000 per person for 8 days of paddling. And so, but that's included. That's me factoring in your flight. So, all in flight, food, lodging, logistics, everything, I think you're going to be looking at about 4,000. So if you're interested in the trip, like, you got to have the information, you got to be prepared. These are the ballpark numbers of what I think it'll cost. And anybody that went on the trip last year, feel free to put in the comment section what you think, like what it ended up costing you. I think that's what it was, but I'm not entirely sure because I wasn't on last year's trip. We are receiving a group discount based on how many people come. So that discount is based on, I think we're almost at like we're at the top threshold. Um, Basically, David offers a discount for, how many people come on the trip. And the more people, hang on, let me see. David just sent me a message. He's trying to join. Hang on. Hang on. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get fancy for a second. Bear with me. Yes, that is on. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hit this button. And then I'm going to hit that button. Dude, it says the invite is sent, but you know how technology works. Maybe. Let me try again. It like won't let me resend. So this happened last time too. It won't let me resend an invitation. It won't let me resend the invitation because it says it already sent it. But the pricing, so for the trip, the group discount is going to be based on how many people come. Once we reach 9 people that are registered to come, we get $600 off per person. I think there's some threshold where, and you can look at David's website, he has it broken down where, like, okay, if you're a group of 3, you get $200 off. If your group is 6, you get X amount of dollars off. It's going to work out to about a $600 credit back at the end of the trip. So whatever you see, if you go to register for this trip and you go onto David's website and you see it's going to say like 3,600 for the trip, just remember you're going to subtract about $600. $600 will be taken off of that at the end. And that's I'm almost positive we're going to be, I think we have 8 people signed up right now. And I'm almost positive we're going to get 1 or 2 more people, which will put us over that threshold to get the max $600 discount for the trip. So the water levels were low last January. Their snowpack and I don't think water is going to be a problem this year. They are well above their averages. Oh, it says David's waiting. It says David is watching. So it might, here we go. There we go. It's going to let David join now. It always takes a minute. So it might.
Hey guys.
David Hughes, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I knew it. I knew it. I was like, we'll figure it out. It always takes a minute. It's fine. I have lots of things to talk about. So I would like to introduce David Hughes here. He is the owner and operator of Pukong Kayak Retreat. So how I want to do this, David, I want to pretend like I'm a complete beginner and I've never been down there before, and ask you questions, if that's good with you. So
can you hear me?
I can hear you good. Yeah. Do you have anything you want to talk about before we dive into that, though?
No, I want to thank Jeremy and Eric last year for giving me this hat. So I dug it out. I still got the sticker on it. This was from last year's OKI trip to Chile. So thank you guys for sending that down. Super cool. Let's go.
All right. Yeah, that I know. We're gonna make new hats this year too. Jeremy is like all of he's head of marketing at Ohio Kayak Construction. He's also we get to give ourselves fancy titles: chief financial operators, executive chairs, trustee. All the shenanigans. But okay, I'm gonna pretend like I'm a beginner. I'm struggling with my role. I think a lot of people have the question where they're thinking, I don't know if I have the skills to do an international paddling trip. What would you say to somebody who's watching right now that is like, I don't know if I'm good enough to go?
Great question. And that's one of our biggest, most challenging objections to to change around. It's really common, and the reason it's so common is, beginners are typically timid about their kayaking skills, and B, all the media, 90% of the media that comes out of Chile is all the Red Bull paddlers and Dane Jacksons running 60-foot, 90-foot waterfalls, and you just don't see a whole lot of the beginners posting videos of them doing roll practice in front of the volcano on the lake. Another way to think about it, beginners, is that's a little bit like saying, I'm not in good enough shape to go to the gym. Same thing, they're still timid, but you're actually wanting to get stronger, so you go to the gym to get stronger. What we do, one of the biggest advantages of the retreat trip with the OKI groups is that we have 3 committed groups. We have the advanced kayakers. Often when they go on group trips, they are doing instruction and rescue. Then we'll have, and so that's a small group. Last year, I think it was Jeremy and Michael Hood and Kyle and one more. So there were 4 advanced. And then we had 4 beginners, Andy Shetterly and Christian Vesper and a couple others. I'm not remembering off the top of my head. But we committed a driver and proper instruction to go to the beginner sections of river. So you're getting your own custom instruction and development, and you're not getting thrown in with the intermediates and you swim and you have a bad experience. We want you to feel safe, and we want you to get proper instruction. So and then we start every day at the breakfast, buffet style breakfast, espressos and coffees and juices, and we end every day. We'll have the hot tub going in the afternoons with appetizers and cocktails by the river. And we're adding the breathing exercises before we do the oxygen jump in the river. And then so we celebrate at dinner time, everybody's successes and failures. And it's a really fun time. So all the groups come together for the meals, family style tables.
I'm so excited. Before you hopped on, people had some questions in the comments about, do you have people? So I know Boyd is going to be down guiding. Do you know who else is confirmed going to be guiding some of the trips?
Yeah, so Boyd is on the Fuda. So those of you that are on the Fuda Food trip, that will be Boyd and Aaron Fisher from Ottawa Kayak School. Mm-hmm. Those are definitely your 2 instructors there. And at the retreat, you're going to have Katie Newfer and Jeremy Bugby. And then there's going to be a few of our Chilean staff. So we do a combination a lot of times. We'll put a guide from the United States, or Aaron's from the UK. We'll combine them with Chilean staff, so you get a cultural thing and the ACA instructional parameters as well. So, and that's a good combination. Good question.
So I know, I'm a complete beginner. If I'm going to fly down, what should I bring? Like, what should I rent from the retreat, and then what should I actually bring down with me, would you say?
Okay, so your kayak is included, and that let's start with that a little bit, because the kayaks and the premium kayaks, the premium lodgings get reserved first. So if you want your selection of kayak, you're an advanced kayaker and you want a Steez half slice or Antics 3.0, whatever, you want to get your deposit in earlier so you can get your kayak choice. You have the option to bring your own paddle or rent a paddle from us, $10 a day on the paddle. We recommend that you bring your own soft goods, your booties, your fleece. In February, it's warm. It's summertime. It's not going to be as hot as it is right now in Ohio, but the rivers, they're not freezing cold. A lot of people think the rivers in Chile are cold. Actually, a lot of the rivers when the Lakes District are flowing. Like the Rio San Pedro is a big blue water run. It's flowing out of a lake, overflowing like a bathtub. And so it's warm from being solar heated. And that's just For the advanced kayakers, that will be a great day to take the half slices, big water like the Fulafu, waves on the fly. Intermediates, you're going to be a little bit of this. And then we take the whole group on the San Pedro day. And the beginners, we put in inflatable kayaks or rafts, so you can be out there too. So your own soft goods, your fleece, you could go dry top. And
Like
then
shorty,
beginners,
I'm thinking about bringing a shorty. Would that be enough?
you could, it's like February Ocoee.
Yeah, I literally like live in my. You mean like July Echo or you said
Yeah,
February Echo?
July. I did.
Okay, okay.
Um,
I
so
live in my shorty.
There's one cold river run that the intermediates and beginners, well, everybody will be doing. It's called the Liakura, and the rest of them are warm to Ocoee type of temperature, which is in the middle, and then Nantahala is a cold river run. I don't think it's as cold as the Nantahala, but it's pretty cold. So the Liakura is a beautiful stretch of river with views of the volcano. And we do a beginner section for the beginners. We do an intermediate section for the intermediates. And then the advanced crew is probably going on something like the Palgine.
Yeah.
You advanced kayakers, your coldest run will probably be, we could have an upper 80-degree day. And when you hike down into the basalt canyon of the Palgine to run the waterfalls, think like Tellico River, which is kind of an entry-level waterfall run, but a little bit more spectacular because it's a land bridge.
Oh yeah.
Basalt. It drops like 12 degrees when you drop down into that canyon because it's just like a refrigerator down in there, and it's a super cool experience. So I think dry top everybody but you.
Okay. Well, if I get too like cold, I'll just Wim Hof it. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I'm writing down. So as people put questions in, I'm writing them down as they come in. As you're talking, David. Two questions was the first one. What was the deadline for registering for the trip? Let's start with that one.
Good question. It's a rolling registration. And I did hear while I was trying to figure out how to get in, someone asked about what the numbers are. So it's our limiting factor is not kayaks and not vehicles and not guides. It's the number of beds. And for example, the Katie Newfer ladies trip, the premium lodgings and kayaks are like we're now to the point where there's only one river suite left, and there's dorm beds, and so their choices of the premium lodgings went first, and your group is the next biggest group in line. This past week, the ladies trip, they just all booked because we did a slide presentation last week. So we still have dorm beds, and there'll still be spaces. Like we still have a dozen dorm beds, but there's not choices of the Hoteria cabins or the river suites anymore. Well, there's still one river suite left.
So to answer the question, it depends, but really the sooner you register, the better lodgings you're going to get. So yeah. And a lot, since we've already got several people that have booked already, like if you want good, like the best premium lodgings, you should go on and register sooner rather than later because
Exactly.
those are going to get taken first.
Yep.
But there is not a dead set like, oh, you must register for the course or register for the trip by X date. It's just a
No,
roll.
I think there will always be the dorm beds because we have so many. And I think the trip is at I think it's past. I think the $600 discount's in effect.
Good. I knew we were close.
I think it's 10 or 12 people. It just comes down to this: the sooner if you wait too long, you're going to lose out on the lodging selections
and kayak selection.
Yeah.
Okay. And then somebody had another question, which was how are the airlines when you try to check a paddle all the way down, like the flight? So how it works for anyone that doesn't know, you're going to fly from the States down to Santiago, which is the capital of Chile. And then you're going to take a shorter flight down to, what's it called? Temuco. Thank you. Do they ever have issues? Do they ever have issues with paddles?
That's a really great question. So there's two things. On my website, I have an article, and on my Facebook page, if you'll remind me, I'll post it on the OKI page. and it's 6 tips to get cheaper airfares.
I love it.
And one of the tips is it lays out researching. So the first tip is use your VPN or incognito, because the airlines, you go there, you surf around for 45 minutes, you find a $1,200 or $1,000 ticket, and you come back 30 minutes later, and it's going up $500. That's a real thing. But one of the tips is you can also research flying to Santiago and then to Temuco, and it has the code Zeta Charlie Oscar for Temuco. You can either try to do all the way direct on one airline like Delta or American or whatever, or you could try to piece that out separately. Your connection. You can fly to. Some people will find that they save $200 or something to fly to Santiago and then buy that 90-minute connector separate. So that's a little trick. Remind me, and I'll just send me a message after this, and I'll share the link. The paddles. I don't recommend trying to fly with your paddle individually, but if you guys can organize it, what we used to do, Eric was a student at New River Academy, and what we would do, so they're going to charge oversized, and usually that's $150, just because it's so long. And we've had a lot of guests that want to bring their own paddles, and they get down here. And we had one year we had a guy with 2 carbon fiber paddles broken in half. And, it goes on the bottom, and they throw some square
I remember it was Clay Whitaker. I remember our year, it was Clay Whitaker's paddle. His AT paddle got shattered on the bundle of paddles. I remember that.
Oh, well, it's an AT, so it probably doesn't count. But no, I'm just kidding. We have all Werner paddles. We like Werner. And then, so what I recommend, if you guys can organize it, is you bring everybody's paddles together and you make a big giant bundle. And then you take your cam straps and you strap those together. And let's say you got 15 paddles and it's still $150. That means it's $10 per paddle. And then you wrap that in a boat bag or just a tarp or I use just a tarp because it's disposable. And then I take like several rows of packing tape. And so when you got 15 of those paddles together, they're supporting each other and they don't break. So you do that. But I wouldn't recommend, if you're going to bring them, I would recommend getting a group together and group paddle for the power of the supportive numbers. And it also reduces the price of $150.
Sure.
If you're paying $150, why not just rent one from us for $10 a day?
Yeah, exactly.
With hassle.
Yeah, I was looking into it, and I booked through Delta, I think, and it was going to be like 180, I think. And so I'm not opposed, but I need to get at least 5 people that want to send their paddles, and I'll take them. I'll be the carrier of the paddles. But you got to get your paddles to me if you want. That's something we're gonna have to talk about. If you guys want to take your personal, because I posted the question today. What's the number one piece of paddling gear that is most important for you personally? And it's the same way for me. I didn't realize this until last year. It's my paddle. I can hop in any boat and throw down. I can hop, throw any life jacket on, wear any helmet. I can't, if I do not have the paddle and the length and the offset that I always use, my confidence is just not there. So, yeah, I just learned that last year when I shattered one of my paddles, and then I was like, oh, and I had to borrow someone's. I'm like, this is not the same. This is not the same. So I'm open to it.
Bring paddles down. You have a group. I'm probably interested in buying paddles. Those are
okay.
They're actually harder to deal with. We include the kayaks, but we don't include the paddles because we break more and we lose more, and it's just. But I buy up used paddles.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. Lodging. Before we get into lodging, we talked about what they should bring. The soft goods should definitely bring. What's one thing guests often get down there and they're like, oh, I need to go buy this because I forgot to bring it?
Electric adapters, but during our first meeting of the week, when everybody arrives, I keep a bag of those now. So
Smart.
people come down and they don't have an adapter for to charge their phones or whatever. And so we can buy these things for like $2. I will go and buy 10 or 15 of them at a time. And I just have a bag, and people leave them. And so we, again, we ask guests to bring down good coffee because coffee's hard to find here. Every time my wife goes to Santiago, she'll go to Starbucks and she'll bring back like 3 bags for me because I love good coffee. And last year, again, shout out to Kayak Coffee. They sent a couple of bags, and that was amazing. And we have an espresso machine, and we love using it. So that's espresso ground or beans. We could grind them. Yeah, I don't see a lot of forgetting of stuff. We provide everything, like how much money to bring and spend. You can use your card everywhere. There are Casa de Cambios for exchanging your money, and we'll take you to that. But we do one dinner out in Pucón, and what we do is we go and we give everybody a tour of Pucón. We run the river, have lunch, go to the Pucón. Everybody gets a tour. They do some souvenir shopping, and then we go to a favorite restaurant and eat out for one night. And that's when you do your shopping. And but you can do most everything with cards. There's just not a lot of cash to be spent needed these days.
Awesome.
Maybe street vendors or something. There's some like craft store, like the street vendors. They're gonna take cash, but yeah, it's pretty. And we've got backup of equipment and everything. We're really well established now.
Now, let me ask you this: which lodging options are still left that haven't been like? Do you know? And you might not know. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. Do you
I
know
don't
which?
know.
Okay.
I can look that. I have the reservation system. I can tell you what the lodgings are. So you have the VIP River Suites, which is a dome with a private and it's we use all therapeutic recovery mattresses. You guys can thank my bad spine for that. I bought a new bed and loved it, and so I was like, we're putting these in all the rooms. And each one of those rooms the bed can be a super king for a couple, or we can separate and do 2 twin XL beds for 2 singles. And we get a lot of that, where there's 2 guys in the same room or 2 girls in the same room, or we need to move it together. That gives us a lot of flexibility, but that's a premium space. It's a geodesic dome and ensuite bathroom. We renovated the showers this year. For anybody that came down that didn't like the showers we had last year, we renovated that. Bigger, nicer tiling. And it had these knobs that were like a spaceship, and you turn it and it shoot you in the chest or in the face. And so I'm like, I want a red knob and a blue knob. And so tiled out. So we have that. And then down from that, that's our premium space. It's on the river. It costs more. Our pricing is based on it's like airfare pricing on the lodging you choose. Then we go Hosteria Cabins, ensuite bathroom, centrally located, not on the river, but the same beds, renovated, super nice space. Then after that, you have the Treehouse dormitories. You have a private dorm for 2 people, and then you have shared dorms. Those are large spaces, and that's it. And so you're looking at 30 beds there. But like I said, probably the Hosteria and the river. Well, the Hosteria and the River Suites are going to go first, and then just like we're seeing it right now, the Ladies' Week, which is the week after your trip,
Mm-hmm.
is overflowing to the dorms. The Hosteria is booked full.
Awesome. Now, what's the most like cost effective option for people? Like someone that's on a budget and they're trying to do this as affordably as possible. Like what would you recommend for those clients?
All right, so Hosteria Cabin C is the most popular, and that's because it's only $100 more than the dorms, and everybody sees that. Like, I don't want to stay in the dorms, and I'm going to stay in Hosteria C because it's $100 more. The Hosteria A is just a nicer space, and it's only for 2 people. It's more private. It's nicer. Hosteria C has a kitchenette, a living room, and 3 individual bedrooms. It's smaller space, but you do have your own private room. So that's the space that's going to go first and most cost effective. The dorms, if you're on a budget, they're still nice. There's a lot of space up there. Like, we get it all the time where there's guests that arrive and there's only 1 or 2 people in there, and there's 8 beds in each one of the big dorm rooms. But I would expect with your trip, depending on how big it grows, you're going to end up with between 3 and 5 people in an 8-bed dormitory based on the latecomers.
Awesome. Yeah. We had some questions in the comment as we were talking. One was, should you bring your own helmet? What would you recommend on that?
That's a good question, because sometimes you guys are thinking about your travel and your space in your bag, and you have bulky items like a life jacket and helmet, and those are going to take up more space. We have helmets. One thing you can do with your helmet is you can take off your helmet and stuff your booties or your socks or whatever in there, and it doesn't take up as much space. But your life jacket is going to take up more space because you can't pack it full. We have life jackets and helmets to provide for folks. You could go either way on that one. I would say, because you can pack your socks, your river gear inside it, stuff it down in your helmet, probably bring your helmet. You don't know what you're going to get with us. We have some helmets that have some old GoPro mounts on them, and some that don't. And we've had some weeks where the last helmet left available has got a face mask, and you probably don't need that on the intermediate trip. But yeah. So I would think, if you're gauging your bag by your space, maybe bring your helmet and use one of our life jackets, because the life jacket's going to take up a lot of space.
Yeah,
So we have.
they tend. Yeah, especially if you're bringing like a green jacket or a rescue jacket or something like that, they're just bulky and big.
And
One of the
we're probably will. I'd probably be willing to buy some life jackets. There's things that they're just hard to get down here.
Yep.
So if anybody's interested in selling gear, send a list and we'll look at that.
Yeah, I'm planning. For everyone watching. I'm planning on bringing a couple things: my helmet, my life jacket, and my spray skirt. And then I might bring. If we do the paddle bag, and I can get 5 people that want to go in on taking paddles down, then I'll take the paddle bag down. But those are what I'm bringing, and then I'll probably end up renting a boat from David. I'm not sure. I'm still on the fence on if I'm gonna pick up a. It depends if I put an order in with Jackson for new Antixes and flows. So
Your kayak's included.
yeah, awesome. Lunch. One of the other questions was, do throughout this entire trip, does anyone need to worry about food for any reason whatsoever?
Good question. So we provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and appetizers. Appetizers at 6:45. Dinners are at 7:30. We were really structured, and we find that reduces stress and that keeps our staff on a schedule. If you walk across the bridge about 200 yards from the property, there are a number of markets, and a lot of folks will go over there and they'll buy snacks and sodas and beers and wine. We provide a few bottle. It depends on the size. Usually it's like 2 bottles per table of either house wine or Pisco de Sours. And then folks are invited to buy. We have a guest fridge. The river suites and some of the lodgings have a little mini fridge, a little mini bar. So you can but inside at where we eat, there's a space for all the guests to put provisions, sodas, whatever, beers inside of there. Spending money, yeah, that's it. So we feed. Actually, we have a saying that we say with our staff is, "Are we proud to serve this?" And really, I was really good at focusing on the adventure side of things. And we were always, the retreat, and back when we were the hostel, we were pulling off high levels of instruction, and that was my area. And I was not good at the hospitality services and the meals. And when I married Valeda. She's Brazilian, and everybody loves her. She's baking cheesy bread, Brazilian bread every morning for the guests. And so she's making the cleaning staff soak the white sheets and towels. The quality of food, we're getting so many compliments of how good our food is. And we're having people that are gaining weight on trips. So you're going to eat well.
Damn it. No. Just
We
kidding.
are proud. We are proud to serve our food now. So
Awesome. Food. So one thing that Nicole was like, you have to remember to mention the second week. So we're going to do 1 week in Pucón, but then there's a 2 week option for those that want to go down, that have the time and want to go and paddle the Fu, which is, in my opinion, one of the best rivers in the world. What are the options right now, and for like an advanced group, an intermediate group, where are we with who's registered and things like that?
okay, yeah, great question. I know Kyle and Jeremy are on the food a week. There might be one more. And so what we need, and it's, I think it gives the option for both intermediate and advanced. On the intermediate side, we need a minimum of 2 persons, or there's a fifth, if you're one person doing an intermediate on the FUDA add-on, it's a $1,500 supplement to cover the cost of another instructor and another vehicle, because we can't throw that intermediate in with a that advanced group and be out there swimming and that sort of thing, and that actually takes away from Kyle and Jeremy's experience. So if we get 2 intermediates, I will commit to hiring the instructor, and I will commit to hiring the transportation for that. And that's the same with beginners too, is a minimum of 2, or I've calculated $1,500 to cover the instructor committed to the beginner and the proper vehicle transportation. That is an add-on. There is a $300 discount on anybody that does the second week that we just offer as gratitude for you going with us for 2 weeks. We have there's a second week add-on for the Pucón option too, but it's so full. That's the same week as Ladies Week, and we have
You might not have the space. Yeah.
the dorms are available.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
if you're looking at doing 2 weeks beginner, intermediate, and Pucón, you're limited to 1 river suite or the dorms. Actually, I know Katie's ladies are going to sign up for the river suite anyway. Whatever, first come,
Awesome.
first serve.
Yeah, that's how it is. So,
Mhm.
okay, so you're saying that if someone signs up for 2 weeks, they'll get a $600 off, and then will they get an additional 300 off? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay,
Exactly.
so 900 off. Yeah,
Right,
that's
and
awesome.
we would extend the yeah, exactly.
Awesome. That's great.
What we do, that's where it's disgusting. There's a really cool thing in Chile it's a pain in the ass for kayakers, but you can't drive from northern Chile to the Fu or southern Chile in Patagonia. And that's because that the nation, it's this big, long, narrow strip, and it's divided by a gulf. And so you either have to drive through Argentina, or you have to take a ferry to Chichen, or you have to charter a flight. And what we do is we send Boyd and Aaron down with all the kayaks and equipment before the trip happens, and we drive down to the northern edge of that gulf in a town called Puerto Montt, and we stay in a hotel that night, and then we put you on a charter flight that's about 40 minutes. It's the most beautiful charter flight you've ever done, for those of you that like flying, because you're looking to your east at the Andes and river valleys coming in, glaciers and volcanoes, and to the west is the Gulf island of Chiloé. And then you land in Chichen, where Boyd and Aaron are waiting to pick you up. They drive you 2 hours to the Fu and you kayak that afternoon. So we will logistically, we've saw, and I have it all the time. People are like, "Hey, do you know anybody is taking kayaks down to Fuda?" They can't get their kayaks across the Gulf because you have to drive your truck on that ferry, and it's like a $500 or $600 cost to take the ferry. And kayakers are really cheap, so at least they are down here.
No, what?
So we solve all that for our guests, and in the and so we charter the flight. It's a super cool flight. It's worth paying for, and then they get 6 days kayaking the Thulafu, and then we fly, and then so we will drive them down after the week one in Pecan and deliver them to the charter port.
Awesome. That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, I am like, I only have the time to do the Pecan week, but I'm flirting with the Fuda week because I just want to go back so badly. It's I don't know. We'll see. I'm not committing to anything yet.
And shout out to Nicole. I know she's kind of on the fence about whether to do Fuda week. If you're a beginner or intermediate and you're interested in that, here's another question about that. Now, a lot of people say, hey, I'm not good enough to paddle the Fuda as well. And there's plenty of intermediate and beginner sections. It's the same thing. Everybody knows it for all the expert and advanced sections like the Inferno Canyon and Bridge to Bridge, where these giant breaking waves and huge boosts off boulders. But there are beginner and intermediate sections. There's even tributaries that have beginner and intermediate instruction and gates. But if you're interested in that, we want your business. It's just go and invite it. If you're a beginner, go and invite another beginner. And you can't afford the $1,500 supplement, go and invite another beginner. As soon as we have two, we have the proper budget to hire that instructor. But that's key. We have to commit in that instructor and transportation.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It's just logistically, it makes perfect sense. Josh, I'll reach out to you about the Fuda, and we can talk more if you're interested in doing that week. Let me know. It's going to be a lot of fun, and honestly, the Fuda is one of those. That is like a once in a lifetime thing, and I tell everyone, I'm like, it's one of those rivers you just have to experience. I mean, it's incredible, absolutely incredible. Like mind altering, once in a lifetime thing. If you have questions for David as we're going through here, put them in the comment section. If you're wondering what rivers you will be on, if you're wondering, I don't know about this or that, put them in the comment section as we're talking. So, but for those that have logistics questions, I'm flying out, and I said this early in the podcast, but not everyone, or in the live stream, but not everyone was here yet. I'm flying out Friday the 5th, and then my return flight will leave February the 13th. So if you're only coming down for the first week, those are the dates. Like if you're going to book your flight, because you'll book with David through his website, but then you need to book your flight separately. You need to know those dates. So fly out the February 5th, even the afternoon or the evening on February 5th, and then have your return date fly out the 13th. So February.
There. So when you register, this is a cool thing. So for those of you that are on the fence, click the book now button and go into the registration and look at the options. And it's all professional. We have a registration payment processor, and it'll tell you how many lodgings are left. You can look at the selection of kayaks, but when you register, we send you a follow-up email that's a guide to when to arrive, when to depart, and a packing list and a number of helpful things to help you plan. But you can go into that registration and not have to pay anything and check lodgings and the kayaks.
Yeah. Josh had the question in the comments. What sections are they going to do on the Fuda Lafu? The advanced group.
Hi, Josh. So, yeah, that's Boyd and Aaron. I think you're going to do everything. So from top to bottom, you've got the most challenging. So it's Josh. It's low water time of year in Fuda, which I really, really like. It gets more playful and you have world-class play. When you're hitting high water Fuda, a lot of stuff washes out. More dangerous. But starting from the top canyon, Inferno Canyon, we progress not by top to bottom. We progress from the easiest section to the next highest up, and then and we follow your progressions. And we basically say, hey, if you swam today and you felt a little bit uncomfortable, you should likely stay with the same section tomorrow, and not progress to this harder, more difficult thing and really work yourself. And we try to teach you a decision-making process on your own. And if we have to step in and say, you're just not ready, we'll do that too. But Inferno Canyon is the most difficult canyon. And by the end of the week, there's probably going to be a few people that don't do that canyon. Down from there, there's a White Mile just below that. Now we're getting into the intermediate canyon. So you've come out of the Inferno Canyon, and it's opened up, and it's flatter, and it's big water, and every rapid ends in a pool. So that's great for intermediates. Uh, Eric's coach, Tino Spate, built a dome on the riverside. He has to go on a boat across the river to get to his property. There is no road to his property. And we're talking about having an authentic asado right on the riverside at the takeout of that. Then that goes into that could be our one of our 2 bread and butter runs for the intermediates. Then you have Terminator, and that's a big canyon. And there's some big rapids down through there. Terminator Rapids being the biggest rapid. There is a sneak down the left, but that is that's the only rapid I haven't ran on the Fuda. It's Terminator, but I've run the sneak route. And the Terminator goes into bridge to bridge. For the advanced kayakers, that is the high action, low consequence action section. And that's the bread and butter advanced trip. Maybe some of the intermediates, but the intermediates are coming a week later, a little bit lower. That might be their climax last day of the trip. They might hit bridge to bridge. And a lot of these rapids have hero lines and they have sneak lines. And so below bridge to bridge, you go into another solid section called Casa de Piedra, which is House Rock. House of the Rock, Casa de Piedra. Another, and there's two really big rapids in there, Casa de Piedra being one of those. And then the run out there that the advanced guys will still be doing starts in the McCall section. And the McCall section is another intermediate section. And now we're getting into intermediate beginner territory. And the river has now settled out, and we have places where we can work on ferries and combat rolls and still run rapids and swim and end up in a safe pool for rescues. So now we're back to our beginner intermediate sections. Josh, I'm going to continue on with some of the intermediate stuff and beginner stuff. There are a couple tributaries. The Azul might be a section for the advanced, but there's also beginner intermediate. That's a tributary, Rio Azul, Rio Blue. And that's kind of, you're driving up into the Andes, and you've got these snow-capped mountains, and it's a colder run than the Fuda. The Fuda is not that cold in February, coming out of a lake in Argentina. But there's a beautiful stretch there for advanced kayakers, but there's also beginner intermediate stuff. And then the other one that we can use for beginners and intermediates is right in the town of Fuda-La-Fu, flowing into the Fuda, is the Rio Espelon. And they have slalom gates there, and that's where beginners and intermediates can go and safely develop their skills and gain confidence without getting wrecked. So great question, and thank you. I did not think to answer that, for allowing me to walk through just how many sections there are. I don't know how many I named there, but
yeah, it's a lot.
About 8 sections. And there's multiple sections on those tributaries.
Yeah. All right. I don't want to take too much of everyone's time. So I'm going to ask, we're going to cover one more thing, and then we'll wrap up here. Unless there's something more you want to cover. But before you hopped on, David, I was talking to people. Some people like to research, and they want to know, like, what rivers are they going to paddle. So we talked about the Fuda and all those sections. But what if people should watch videos on sections of the around Pucón? What river, what names and what rivers should they be like looking on YouTube and things like that?
Great question. I will say, if you go, Jerry Yang, if you know, they started a website called Jer Kayak and the Portage Posse. And they did something like what you're doing. No one was serving this beginner intermediate group as they were coming up and learning. And everybody was only making these advanced videos. And they came down here and they did a media trade with me. And they had a beginner kayaker do a beginner trip, and then she did a ladies trip, and they did a day in the life of a beginner kayak trip, a day in the life of the women's kayak trip. And then they had an
Genius.
intermediate, and he did a day in the life. And they did like 3 videos per person or per skill, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And if you go to the Pucon Kayak Retreat Facebook page and you scroll down through there, you'll see these YouTube videos that we've shared, and then you can find their channel. And I think that's the best, because it's hard to find the beginner intermediate sections that are actually talking from your perspective of looking at a trip. Most of these things are someone puts on a GoPro, and for their month-long trip to Chile, they put all these rivers in a 30-minute video that no one ever watches. So I would go to
I did
that.
it.
But
Everyone does it, and then you're like, this, I shouldn't have done this.
yeah, so they did it right. I like the way they did it. So you have a beginner perspective. You have a woman that did the women's trip, and then you have a guy that did intermediate trip, and then you have a couple guys that did advanced trips. And they talk you through it. They're talking through it. They talk
And
about
what
the law for the property and the food and the instruction and the rivers.
Yeah, and what? Yeah, what was the name of? How can people find that? What was the
I
name of
think
that page? Or
it's well, you can go to my first thing is I can post these on your page.
do it.
You need to make me a list because I'll forget. There's something else that I said I was going to post earlier as well. Oh, that article about the airfares. Um, I can post the link to their videos. I'll do a beginner, intermediate, and advanced day in the life. But you can also go on the Pucon Kayak Retreat Facebook page and just scroll down. What I do on the retreat page is I just provide useful posts and links. So you can find all this information on our Facebook page. You just have to scroll down through there until you find it. I think those are the best resources, because if you go and you watch the beginners and intermediates just aren't going to get any. It's going to be hard to find anything. The advanced kayakers, you might find somebody that's running class 5. You're like, I'm not that good, and you might think wrongly that all it is class 5 and 90 footers. So I will post that on your OKI page.
Yeah, that would be great. We had another question in the comments, which was what Scott asked. What are some skills? And Scott, I think you're going to end up in the advanced group with us, just knowing where your skill levels are. What are some things they should practice before coming down?
Okay, Scott, if you are advanced, I'm going to say, you're kind of leveling up to the Ocoee. Maybe you're comfortable on the Ocoee and you're starting to do freestyle. I'm a big believer in freestyle. So if you're going out and you're getting out on the wave and they're in Dayton all the time, and you're going upside down, you're flipping over and over, and so you get to where you're not flipping anymore, then get more aggressive. Try to surf it backwards and just keep doing stuff. Try to go for blunts. Keep going for stuff that's going to make you flip, and just get that roll faster and faster. And that's, you're constantly catching edges and learning edge control. The more freestyle you're doing on play features, and you guys are lucky because you got 5 rivers coming in there in Dayton. I'm a big fan of Dayton. I don't know Cincinnati as well, other than the one river waterfall that Eric took me off of years ago. That was awesome. But you probably don't have that right now.
Actually, we do.
Yeah.
It killed me because I committed to this, but we just got like downpour, like we lost electric. It is storming like crazy right now, and I was like, as soon as we finish up here, I'm going kayaking. I don't know what I'm paddling tonight, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go kayak something as soon as we get off this.
All right. So Scott, I would hop in with Eric and go run the waterfall, because we do, the Palgine. It's similar to that water. What was that? The Little Miami or something?
That was Massey's Creek.
Uh-huh.
Full disclaimer though for everyone watching, that is a very technical waterfall, not to be taken lightly. That is the most difficult waterfall we have in our area is Massey's Creek,
So
and
that's like the 20-footer on the Palgine. The Palgine, the 20-footer is really clean. It lands in a pool. It turns out the 20-footer is easier than the other one. The shorter the waterfalls on the Palgine, the harder they are. The higher, and that's good news because there's on the Palgine Canyon, I think we got the world's best training spot for boofing. There's a 4-foot high boof, and it's really steep, and it will flip people. And then it goes about 30 feet, and it goes off a 10-foot high boof. That's just a super clean, go upside down, flip, swim, whatever, you're safe, and we'll tell you sure. And then we build a ladder, and you can climb the ladder and go back up and get immediate video feedback and run 10 laps until you get it. And that's just rare that you can lap waterfalls like that. So getting on the water, we're going to teach you how, for the waterfall day, we're going to teach you first how to protect yourself and how to hold a tuck. Then we're going to go up from there, and we're going to teach you how to do, I'm going to use a pencil on my desk, to do pitch and pull, whether you're going to try to pierce at this angle or a 70. And then the third level is going freestyle, and this is Eric. There's freestyle level or boofing to stomp or ear dipping to hitting a 70-degree. And so those are the three. We're going to teach all three of those, even if you're a beginner waterfall runner. That way you see the progressions. I think that's pretty solid advice is, solid upping your roll and then getting out on the river and whatever it is to prepare for the trip.
has anybody ever thrown I forget what it's called, but a loop right off of the 20-footer? Has it been
Not
done?
that, I think it's too shallow.
Can you make nasty off of it?
Yeah, I think so. It was Aniol that opened up and named the Cobra Flip
Hmm.
on the 20-foot.
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing a McNasty. It's not that wide, and I have back when I was ear dipping off of it. When it was low, you drag your paddle sometimes, but maybe at high water.
Yeah. We'll
The
see.
problem, I'll tell you, one problem is there's a contrast there because at high water, people are probably taking creek boats and probably not taking play boats. So you
Right.
need it.
Yeah,
And
but do
with
you
a
have a
kid,
do you have a rock star or a playboat on property?
I have a Rockstar 4
Perfect.
medium.
Perfect. That's it. That's exact. I already know. I already know one of the first things I want to try when I get there.
All right.
Perfect.
I got
Um,
Dane.
yeah, I love it. I'm definitely going to throw some tomahawks. That's like my favorite move now. Now that I know how to throw the tomahawk, it's like not that hard, and it's like like once you know the muscle memory, it's like that's not that hard.
That
Um,
seal launch, that seal launch into the Palgine, right there's a tomahawk.
yes, yes, definitely. That's a perfect spot for one, honestly. That'll be sweet. Okay, put it in the comments if anyone has any other questions. Let me read real quick. Somebody tried looping off it. I think I might be able to throw a McNasty because you don't have to plug when you do a flat water McNasty. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
plug the same way you do for
Right.
like a flat water loop.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I might be able to do it in the pool right above the lip and then just fall
Mm-hmm.
like throw the loop part off of the lip. We'll
Well,
see.
throw it back to bring it down.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. With that, we are going to wrap up. If you have questions, shoot me a message. If you want more information, you can always reach out to David or myself. But feel free to message me. And if you want the information, it's best to reach out via Messenger, and then I can email you all of the trip info, and then get you connected with David and get you best options for what's going to work best for you and in terms of lodging, in terms of boats, everything like that. So, but I am thinking I am going to, I saw enough people in the comments say they want me to take a paddle bag down. So I think that is going to happen. But if anyone has any other questions, David, thank you very much for your time, and we will see you in February.
On that paddle bag, you just made me think you can throw a bunch of life jackets in there and kind of wrap the shafts and
Oh,
get
that's
more
a good
braces.
idea.
Tape. That's another thing, and that's you take care of you get your life jackets down there and that too.
Yeah, that's a
Cool.
good idea. So
Thanks
awesome.
for
Have a great night,
invite.
everyone, and thanks again, David.
All right.